I offer my loving pranams at the lotus feet of Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, who today embodies in himself Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba, and who is being surely recognized by the world as the spiritual heir to Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba. My loving greetings to all the brothers and sisters and boys and girls who have joined this webinar. At the outset, I would like to compliment the youth, Sai youth of Region 3, that is Europe, for organizing this webinar on Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma was relevant for all times, and it is relevant even today, and it is ever relevant. Because in Sanatana Dharma, you can find solutions to the quest of all individuals and problems of all communities, or the problems of the whole world. After all, what is an individual looking for? Every individual looks for experiencing infinite joy, unbroken joy, and also aspires for immortal life. Sanatana Dharma, if practiced with sincerity of purpose, with Shraddha, can help an individual attain this. It can put an end to the sorrows of an individual once and for all. And looking to the communities and societies, whether it is a town or a state or a nation or the whole world, what are the problems of the world? What does the people in the world look for? It is an irony of history, and it is really a tragedy that we never had a time when even the basic material needs of all men and women and children were met in this world. There was no time. Basic material needs like food, clothing, shelter, education facilities, and medical facilities. These are the basic material needs of everybody. And it is really very strange that at no point of time, everyone born in this world, especially in modern history, ever had all these needs satisfied. There were always people who were left out. There were affluent people. There were also people who were starving. There were also people who were naked. There were also people who did not have a roof over their heads. There were also children who never had any opportunities for education. And there were people who were deprived of the basic medical facilities. See, that is one part. Sanatana Dharma can help humanity achieve this. What it means, Sanatana, if you practice Sanatana Dharma, the principles of Sanatana Dharma, it is possible to see that everybody born in this world will get their food, will get their clothing, shelter, education facilities, and also medical facilities. That is on one side. The other side is, definitely everybody wants to create a society, create a world where there is no suffering. But any world without suffering is just not possible because it is in the nature of life, it is in the nature of creation that suffering will be there. But what can be done is that we can see to it that man will not inflict suffering on another man. Man will not inflict suffering on other creatures. See, that is possible to achieve if the principles of Sanatana Dharma are practiced. Even this was never there. Definitely, there cannot be any world without suffering. But a world where man will not inflict suffering on man is possible, but even that was never achieved. Looking at the kind of bloodshed, looking at the kind of conflicts, strifes, wars, battles, we can always find that more suffering was inflicted on man by man himself rather than any other natural causes. Therefore, Sanatana Dharma surely can solve all the problems of the world. Individuals can find true joy and fulfillment in their lives, and the world can be happy. Everybody can be happy, lead a life of purpose, and see that suffering is minimized in the world. That is possible. Before I take up the topic of Sanatana Dharma for an exploration, I would like to read out a message that Swami has given for this webinar. It's a very crisp message, but it sets the tone for my talk on Sanatana Dharma. I would like to read out the message. This is the message of Swami, which he has written down. Unity within and without is Sanatana Dharma. Unity within and without is Sanatana Dharma. Within is harmony of thought, word, and deed, and without is seeing everything as divine. My blessings to everyone. This is the message that Swami has given to the webinar, and Swami summarizes in a nutshell what exactly is Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma means unity, both inside and outside. What is unity inside? Unity inside means individuals achieving within themselves unity of thought, word, and deed. See, that is internal unity. And unity outside means looking at divinity everywhere, looking everybody as divine and looking everything as divine. That is the essence of Sanatana Dharma. I would like to first quote an European thinker, in fact, two European thinkers, one from France, another from Germany, who have said something very adorable about Sanatana Dharma. The first of them did not really mention Sanatana Dharma, the word Sanatana Dharma, but he meant it. The first is Romain Rolland, a French philosopher and writer. Many of you might know that he has written biographies of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and also Swami Vivekananda. In the biography of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he writes, I just quote that sentence, if there is a place on the face of the earth which is home for the highest thoughts of all living men and women, since the earliest times when man began the dream of existence, it is India, he says. It's very simple. If there is any place in the world which has been the native land, which is the home for the highest thoughts of all living men and women, it is India, he said. Definitely, when he talked about the highest thoughts of all men and women, he meant Sanatana Dharma only. But more explicitly, there was this German philosopher, Arthur Schopenhauer, who said, in this world, there is no study as beneficial and as elevating as the study of Upanishads. Study of Upanishads has been the solace of my life, and it also will be the solace of my death. This is what he said. He also added that sooner or later, Upanishads are going to become the faith of all of mankind. This is what he said. He is referring to Upanishads. You just imagine this. See, there are so many things that man can study in the world. Sciences, humanities, physical sciences, biological sciences, mathematical sciences, literature, sociology, politics, economics, philosophy. And he says, in the whole of the world, there is no study which is as beneficial and as elevating as the study of the Upanishads. See, he is born in Germany. In fact, it was during his time that for the first time, Vedic literature, especially Upanishads, were translated into English. Therefore, at some point of time, he said, he was born in 1788 and he passed away in 1860. He says, I am very fortunate to be born at a time when Indian scriptures are available in English translations. This is what he said. I am very fortunate that I was not born earlier when these scriptures were not available in English. He said. So when you talk about Upanishads are the founding texts of Sanatana Dharma. Many of you might already know that Upanishads form the zenith, the climax of Vedic thought and Vedic philosophy. And you will be knowing that there are 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samaveda and Atharvana Veda. And then each of these Vedas are divided or classified into 4 aspects. The first is the Samhita, second is the Brahmana, third is the Aranyaka, and fourth is the Upanishad. When we say Upanishad is also referred to as the Vedanta, the highest thought and philosophy, the end of Veda. In fact, Vedanta means end of Veda. And the highest philosophy of the Veda is there in the Upanishads. And why Upanishads alone are the founding texts of Sanatana Dharma and not other texts and scriptures of Vedic literature is an important point. See, generally people think that Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism are one and the same. Even very learned people, scholars, even very religious people, they generally think Hinduism and Sanatana Dharma are one and the same. But the truth is, it is not so. It is Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba who pointed out the important difference between Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism. Because the devotees of Satya Sai Baba know that establishment of Sanatana Dharma, Baba announced, declared that was the mission of the last phase of 16 years of his life. And he himself gave a blueprint of his life and mission. He divided into 6 phases of 16 years each, beginning with first 16 years Leela, the second 16 years Mahima, the third 16 years Upadesha, the fourth 16 years Vidya, the fifth Vaidya, and finally the 6th as establishment of Sanatana Dharma. He announced it. And I'm not going to talk about the earlier phases of his life. I will focus on only establishment of Sanatana Dharma. It so happened when we were in Rishikesh, Swami was discussing this establishment of Sanatana Dharma as the purpose of this phase of his mission, the last phase of his mission. Then there were some devotees from abroad, and one of them asked Swami that whether Swami is going to establish Hinduism all over the world. When he said establishment of Sanatana Dharma all over the world, is Swami going to establish Hinduism all over the world? Then Swami pointed out, Sanatana Dharma is not a religion. Hinduism is a religion. Hinduism is a religion which is practiced by a particular group of humanity, a particular section of humanity. Like, there are religions, Christianity is practiced by many people, Islam is practiced by many people, Buddhism is practiced by many people, so also other religions. So Hinduism is practiced only by a section of people, a group of people in the world, not by everybody. And Swami said, Sanatana Dharma is universal. And then he dilated on this topic, and that was the time when he asked me to write a book on Sanatana Dharma. Now that book is going to be published during Navaratri, Sanatana Dharma for Universal Welfare. See, this is the title of the book, in which Swami asked me to differentiate between Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism. In the first few chapters, that is the theme which is covered. How is Sanatana Dharma different from Hinduism? As I told you, Sanatana Dharma is not a religion, Hinduism is a religion. But then what is Sanatana Dharma? If you look into Oxford Dictionary, the meaning of Dharma, see, generally people think Dharma means religion, which is not correct. Even in Oxford Dictionary, the meaning that is given for the word Dharma is truth or law that affects the whole universe. See, that is what the meaning is given. The meaning of Dharma is not religion, what is given in the Oxford Dictionary. What is given is, it is truth or law which affects the whole universe. So it is applicable to the whole universe. That's what it means. Sanatana means eternal. Therefore, Sanatana Dharma means the eternal law, the supreme eternal law. And for example, like law of gravitation, though it was discovered by Newton in England, it does not belong to only Newton. It does not belong to only England. It encompasses the whole of the universe. The law of gravitation is applicable for the whole of the universe. Similarly, Sanatana Dharma is a law. Sanatana Dharma is the eternal law, the supreme eternal law, which applies to the whole universe. Therefore, it is universal. Whereas Hinduism is not universal. If you ask people whether you are practicing Hinduism, many people in the world would say, no, I don't practice Hinduism. I am practicing Christianity, I am practicing Islam, I am practicing Buddhism, I am practicing Zoroastrianism. They may say. But as far as if you understand Sanatana Dharma properly, it applies to everybody. See, that is the universality of Sanatana Dharma. Now, what is this supreme eternal law? What is Sanatana Dharma? As I already read out the message given by Swami, it is unity of everything. Divinity and unity of everything, that is Sanatana Dharma. What it means is, everything in the universe is divine. Everyone in the universe is divine. Every being in the universe is divine. And therefore, all are one. See, this is fundamentally what Sanatana Dharma means. And this has been very beautifully captured in two phrases, Sanskrit phrases by Sadhguru Sri Madhusudan Sai during the during this one of his talks in Paravidya. In fact, he combined two statements of the Upanishads to sum up what is Sanatana Dharma, the essence of Sanatana Dharma, that is Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma. See, this actually is the essence of Sanatana Dharma. What does it mean? That Sarvam Brahma, everything is divine, or everything is God, everything is divinity on one side. When everything is divine, I cannot be anything else other than divine. Therefore, Sarvam Brahma, Aham Brahma. In fact, it is a combination of two great declarations in the Upanishads. The first is from the Chandogya Upanishad, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. In fact, first time when Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai spoke about it, in fact, he said, you meditate on these two great declarations in the Upanishads. He said that Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. That is, everything is Brahma, everything is God. The second is Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma is from Chandogya Upanishad. But what happened when some of our youngsters tried to practice? They found it difficult because they had not learned Sanskrit. Therefore, one of the young men asked Swami, is it Sarvam Kalu Idam Brahma? Swami said, then Swami wanted to simplify it, make it very simple so that everybody can easily chant, whether they have learned Sanskrit or not. Therefore, from the statement, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, Swami took out only Sarvam Brahma. And from the statement Aham Brahmasmi, that is I am God, I am Brahma, Swami took out Aham Brahma. Therefore, Sarvam Brahma, Aham Brahma is the essence of Sanatana Dharma. Is there any logic? Is there any scientific rationale behind these statements? See, it's very, very simple. See, anybody can understand, even a schoolboy or a schoolgirl can understand this. Because the scientists say that the universe was created first with a Big Bang. What it means is they envisage a time, some billions of years before, when the universe was not there. Then only the cause was there. The cause of the universe was there. That cause of the universe, we call it Brahma, we call it God, we call it by many names. And then the Big Bang happened and the universe was created. That's what they say. But when you want to create something, there should be two things. There is somebody who creates it. It is called the instrumental cause. And the second is, there should be some material to make that. That is called the material cause. For example, suppose you want to make jewels. There should be a jeweler on one side who makes, or a goldsmith who makes these jewels. And on the other side, there is material that is gold. The two things should be there. Suppose a potter wants to make pots. The potter is the one who makes the pots, but the material that he uses is the clay. Suppose there is a carpenter who makes a table. The carpenter is the instrumental cause, and the material cause is naturally wood. Therefore, when God created the universe, the instrumental cause, the one who created, is the creator. You call him by any name. Call him or call it by any name. That is the instrumental cause. Then what was the material out of which he created this universe? See, that is the question. For a goldsmith, there is gold. For a potter, there is clay. For a carpenter, there is wood. But for God, what was the material? There was no material other than himself. Therefore, both the instrumental cause and the material cause are one and the same. Therefore, he made the universe out of himself. So naturally, therefore, everything is himself. See, that is actually the scientific rationale behind these statements. But these statements were made by the sages of the Upanishads when they experienced it. Then the simple question is, If everything is Brahma or everything is God, everything is divine, why is it that we don't experience it? Why is it that we don't feel that? The simple reason is the concept of the ignorance, the concept of ignorance or the concept of Maya or illusion comes there. The simple reason why we don't experience ourselves as divine and we don't experience others also as divine is simply because we believe, we experience that we are these bodies. Therefore, what is responsible for this ignorance is our body consciousness. If you just get rid of the body consciousness, you know that you are divine, and then you also know that this universe is not a combination of separate objects or separate beings, but it is all divine. Therefore, these sages of the Upanishads who were the first to experience this, they were the first to experience the truth of Sanatana Dharma. They experienced their own divinity because they sacrificed everything and dedicated themselves in pursuit of truth. They gave up everything else. They gave up everything else and then they pursued and went in quest of truth. And they found the truth within himself that I am divine. That is the truth they found out. And this is the highest truth which is there in the Upanishads. But if you look at Vedic literature, you can see the gradual evolution of man towards this highest experience. In fact, if you look at Vedic literature, there are 4 stages of evolution, spiritual evolution of man. The first thing is, he looked at nature, the natural forces, the thunder, the lightning, the rain, the sun, the moon, the wind, the fire, and he started worshipping them. This is a kind of deification of natural forces. He recognized all these natural forces are different gods and goddesses. See, that was the first stage. The second stage was, he evolved to find out that all these are the expressions of the one and the same God. There is only one God who expresses himself in all these forms. This is what he found out. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. That's what he stated. Though all these are divine, all these are various devatas or gods and goddesses, they are all the forms and expressions of the one and the same divine principle, one and the same God. And in the third stage, man found out that God is not only outside, he is outside no doubt, but he is inside me also. He internalized God. That God is inside me also, not only outside. And finally, in the last stage only, he found out that he himself was that God whom he was searching for. See, these are the declarations of the Upanishads. They are called Mahavakyas. There are 4 great declarations from the 4 Vedas. Aham Brahmasmi is from the Vajrveda, from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. What it means is that I am divine, I am God, I am Brahma. From Chandogya, you have Tat Tvam Asi, that you are that. You are that Brahma, you are divine. Then we have from the Atharvana Veda, we have from the Mandukya Upanishad, I am Atma Brahma, that this individual himself is God. This individual soul, the Jivatma himself is Paramatma. See, this is what was stated in the Mandukya Upanishad. That is, I am Atma Brahma. And Rigveda says in the Aitareya Upanishad, Prajnanam Brahma. The God is nothing but consciousness. I am nothing but that consciousness. Therefore, it naturally leads to the statement Aham Brahmasmi. See, these are the statements, and this is how you find the man evolved spiritually. When we study Vedic literature, this is what we find. And they also said The other aspect of Sanatana Dharma, important principle of Sanatana Dharma is the supreme purpose of human life is to experience one's own divinity and experience the unity of whole creation. Divinity and unity of all creation, divinity and unity of all existence, that is the experience that any human being should get. Because animals, birds, beasts, they will never get this experience because they don't have this discrimination. See, that is why it is said, Swami also often tells us, Jantunam Narajanma Durlabham. It's so difficult to get the human birth. Why it is difficult? Only among the millions of beings which are there, only it is the human being, it's only man or woman who can experience the highest spiritual truth. That is the supreme goal of life. And that is why in the heart of every human being, there is always a hunger, there is always a thirst. What is that thirst? I want to experience infinite joy, infinite bliss. And secondly, I want to be immortal. Nobody wants to die. See, that is why spirituality was born. That is why religion was born. Because it is an internal quest. You take anybody, anywhere in the world, everybody aspires for this. Nobody wants to experience sorrow. Everybody wants to experience joy, that too unlimited joy, unbroken joy on one side. And nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to be immortal. These two quests in the human heart can be answered only by religion, only by spirituality. See, that is why it is said, man is incurably religious. That's the statement which is made. See, you go to any part of the world at any point of time, what has been found, whether excavation or anything, study, they had some kind of religion. Every part of the world, every community, anywhere in the world had some kind of religion. It is basically because nothing else can satisfy these two desires in the heart of man. I want to be infinitely happy. And secondly, I don't want to die. I want to be immortal. It is only the religion, it is only spirituality which can satisfy, give answers to these two quests in the heart of man. See, that is the supreme goal of human life. Then what is the best way to practice Sanatana Dharma? The first thing, naturally, is that I have to find out that I am divine. It is not intellectually finding out. See, all of us can quote. All of us can study all the Upanishads and quote all the Upanishads, but thereby we are not going to really experience the highest truth. We have to put in consistent effort to find out truth about ourselves. That is the path of sadhana. But in the world, as we live in the world, in society, how can we really practice Sanatana Dharma? Swami has given a very simple formula. Because everything is divine, love all, serve all. That is the best way to practice Sanatana Dharma. And you find this spiritual core as the basis of every religion. You take any religion, Sanatana Dharma is the basis of every religion, including Hinduism. Hinduism is a religion which came on the basis of Sanatana Dharma. So also Christianity, so also Buddhism, so also Islam, so also any religion, because Sanatana Dharma is a law which says that everything is divine. And you have to experience that you are divine. And that is the basis of any religion for that matter. The relationship between man and God, the spiritual core of every religion is this only. Of course, religion has other things. See, for example, the quest of the heart is answered by spirituality. That is Sanatana Dharma. And also, there is the head of man, thinking. Therefore, every religion has its own philosophy or theology. And similarly, for the hands, there are rituals in every religion. They are different. See, theology and philosophy are different. Rituals are different. But spirituality is one and the same. You look at Jesus Christ, you look at Krishna, you look at Rama, you look at Buddha, look at Zoroaster, look at Prophet Muhammad, whoever it is, all of them experience the highest bliss within themselves. You can see the paintings or pictures or photographs of some of these prophets, that they have closed their eyes and within they experience the highest bliss. See, that is what is Sanatana Dharma. It does not belong to only Hindus or Hinduism. It belongs to everybody because everything is divine. Therefore, the best way to practice Sanatana Dharma is to love all and serve all. And that is the basis on which we can achieve a world where there is nobody who is deprived of the basic material needs. And that is where we can imagine to have a world where man will not inflict suffering on man because he sees divinity everywhere. On this basis comes the very important concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world is one family. Why is the whole world one family? Because everybody is divine. See, that is the basis. Then the next question that arises about Sanatana Dharma, and here we have to make out that Sanatana Dharma is synonymous with spirituality. See, that is what it is. What is Sanatana Dharma? It is spirituality. Spirituality of every religion is Sanatana Dharma. See, that is why you can think of a tree of religions. The roots are Sanatana Dharma. The branches which came out, Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, Christianity, Islam, Sikhism, all these are branches of the same tree. The roots are Sanatana Dharma. See, this is what we have to understand. But then the question arises, why there were so many wars in the name of religion? That is because of ignorance of man. Man did not understand religion properly. That is why you see the religious wars. In fact, today's youth, anywhere in the world, see, it was recently, research was done. In America, this research was done. Why youth are moving away from religious ideas? Why youth are not going to churches? This question was asked. The first reason was that youth found out that so much of blood has been shed in the name of religion. So many people have been killed in religious wars. Religions fight among themselves. Therefore, that is the first repellent which is taking the modern day youth from religion. That is because of misunderstanding of religion and definitely not because of religion itself. And then the next question is, if you practice Sanatana Dharma or spirituality, is it that you will go away from the normal workaday world? See, that is one question. Whether you have to give up your normal life in the world to pursue the spiritual path. Here I want to tell you the example of Mahatma Gandhi. All of us know how popular he was, not only in India and in many parts of the world, because of his spiritual strength. And he moved around the whole country like a storm, actually. He inspired the Indian masses to fight for the freedom of their country. For the first time in the history of the world, he proposed a strategy of non-violence. This is not to be found anywhere in the world. By non-violent means, you can fight and you can attain freedom. That's what he taught. At one such time, when people worshipped him as the Mahatma, there was a Western journalist who went to him and asked. He said, I want to know from you the essence of your life, the secret of your life in 3 words. This is what he asked. He was a Western journalist. And Mahatma Gandhi said, Tena tyaktena bunjita. These are the 3 words he said. No, I want 3 English words, he said. Because he didn't follow Sanskrit. Tena tyaktena bunjita. He didn't follow. He said, I want 3 English words. He said, then Gandhiji translated and said, renounce and enjoy. Renounce and enjoy. This Tena Tyaktena Bunjita is from the Ishavasya Upanishad. Isavasya Upanishad is the second smallest Upanishad among the 10 major Upanishads. I didn't tell you about that. Among 108 Upanishads which are available today, 10 were selected by Adi Shankaracharya for writing his commentaries. Therefore, they are called major Upanishads. The 10 major Upanishads are Ishavasya Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, Kathopanishad, Prashnopanishad, Aitareya, Taittiriya Upanishad, Mundaka, Mandukya, Brihadaranyaka and Chandogya. These are the 10 major Upanishads. The smallest Upanishad is the Mandukya Upanishad with only 12 shlokas or 12 stanzas, 12 verses. And next smallest is 18 verses, that is the Isavasya Upanishad. The biggest Upanishads are Chandogya and Brihadaranyaka. They have around 500 passages or 500 verses. Now this Tena Tyaktena Bunjita is from the first shloka, first verse of this Isavasya Upanishad. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagathyam jagat Tena Tyaktena Bunjita magrudaha kasya svidhanam. See, that is the first shloka of the Ishavasya Upanishad. What does it say? The whole universe is pervaded by God, by divinity. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Therefore, tena tyaktena bunjita, you enjoy life. You experience everything in life. There is nothing wrong. But magrudaha kasya svidhanam. Don't grab something which belongs to somebody else. It is not only human beings. See, this is what is actually today happening in the world. The human beings, because they are powerful, it is very sad to know that the 7 billion people in the world kill 2 billion animals every week for their food. Because they are helpless, they are helpless. But here when you say, Magrudha kasya svidhanam, like every human being has his own or her own space, every animal, every insect, every beast, every bird has its own space. Don't intrude. Don't invade. So that is what it exactly means. Therefore, the Ishavasya Upanishad says that man can enjoy, man can experience life, but he should not grab something which belongs to someone else or some other animal also. Live and let live. See, that is the principle of this Ishavasya Upanishad. And it also says, Kurvan neveha karmani jijivishet shatam samaha. Every human being should aspire to live for 100 years. Based on this feeling that everything is God, don't grab what belongs to another. That is what it is. And also, it doesn't mean that a person who becomes spiritual, a person who practices Sanatana Dharma, who experiences the highest experience of Sanatana Dharma, he will move away from the world or he will become inactive. See, that kind of notion is there, but it is not correct. Because in Mundaka Upanishad, a question is asked. Who is the best among the knowers of God? And there it is said, Atmaratihi, Atmakrida, Kriyavan, Yesha Brahmavidam Varishtaha. What it means is, not that, when you become spiritual, you become inactive. You give up all work in the world. You enjoy within yourself the bliss of the self. Atmaratihi. Atmakrida means, Atmaratihi means when he closes his eyes, he enjoys the bliss within. When he opens his eyes, Atmakrida, he looks at everything as divine. And he involves himself in Kriyavan, means he works for the welfare of others. He works for the welfare of the world. All the time he is working. It doesn't mean that a spiritual person will become inactive, will be an example of inertia. But on the other side, if you look at the most active people and the greatest achievers in the world, name in any field, most of them, 99% of them were spiritual. In any field, industry, business, sports, or music, or literature, politics, science. See, they were all very spiritual people. They are the ones because they knew how to utilize all the powers of the mind. Only a spiritual person who knows the secret of oneself, he can utilize all the powers of the world. It is said that normal human beings throughout their life utilize only a very small percentage of the powers of their mind. Whereas a spiritual person, he will become more competent in the world, he will be able to achieve more things in the world because he knows the secret of the power that is hidden within himself. That is one aspect. Then the next question is, how do we realize this truth? See, that is the question. Sadhguru Sri Madhusudan Sai very clearly has said that unity within and unity without is Sanatana Dharma. So unity within is the way we can experience the highest truth. What is this unity within? We have to achieve the oneness of thought, word and deed. Means internal purity is required. And also, it is not that anybody can achieve this kind of experience, attain this kind of experience. And it is also said, you have to have one pointed aspiration for experiencing. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyaha na medeya na bahuna shrutena yame vesha runute tena labhyaha tasyesha atma vivrunute tanum swami is the statement from the Mundaka Upanishad. What does it mean? It means by listening to a lecture, you cannot experience God or you cannot experience the highest spiritual state. By giving a lecture also you cannot experience. Not by intelligence. You have to aspire for that experience. You have to aspire for God to the exclusion of everything else in the world. So what it means, it is very simple. See, God has created this world and there are many things which are attractive for human beings. There are a lot of things which attract their attention. And naturally all human beings go after the pleasures of the world or the attainments in the world. They go after it. But what is certain is all that you attain in the world is only temporary. It can't be permanent. Therefore, someone who is intelligent, who is brilliant, and who is brave, Kaschid Dhiraha it is said. Kaschid Dhiraha Pratyagatmanam avakshat avrutta chakshuhu amrutatva michan. What does it mean? A hero among millions of people, he turns his mind and senses inward. Because he has found out that whatever he achieves outside in the world is only temporary. Initially it gives you happiness, later on it leads to sorrow. When he realizes this, naturally he focuses his mind towards God, he goes inwards and experiences. Therefore, what is required to experience God or experience the highest spiritual state is that kind of single-minded pursuit and nothing else, absolutely nothing else. You have to just say, I want God and God alone. Not say, you should want God and God alone. See, then you can experience God. See, this is the way one has to attain. What it means is that one has to achieve some kind of control over one's own mind and senses. He has to turn the outgoing senses and mind inward, and then he can experience. When you want it, you will get it. That is what Jesus Christ meant when he said, seek, you shall get it. Knock, the door shall be opened to you. Anybody who wants God will get God. See, that is what it meant. And then I want to come to how does Sanatana Dharma relate itself with the findings of the modern science. I want to quote Sir John Woodroffe, who is a British Orientalist, who said this: the examination of the Indian Vedantic doctrines shows that they are in tune with the most advanced scientific and philosophical thought of the West. He said that. After having studied the modern science and the principles of Vedanta, or the principles of Sanatana Dharma or the Upanishads, he said that they are in tune with the most advanced scientific and philosophical thought of the West. Especially with the advent of quantum mechanics, the theory of relativity, and the unified field theory, which was put forth by Albert Einstein, the scientists are slowly veering towards this point of view that consciousness is the basic stuff of the universe. And also, they are recognizing that supremely intelligent consciousness underlies matter at the in the subatomic world. See, you go into the atom, and they found that, in the words of a Nobel laureate, Dr. Walker, he said, protons show the signs of consciousness, he said. And also today, science, which was all the time studying only matter and then life, is now focusing on the study of consciousness. This consciousness studies has become a frontier area in the modern scientific world. Therefore, Sanatana Dharma is absolutely in tune with the findings of the modern science. That's what we can find. And finally, coming to how this Sanatana Dharma could be harnessed for the welfare of mankind. See, naturally, Sanatana Dharma or spirituality will have to be brought back into schools and colleges again. It so happened that somehow, by scientific temper, people meant that it is anti-spiritual and anti-religious. But now that the modern scientific inventions themselves, the modern discoveries of science themselves, are bringing physics and metaphysics together. Therefore, these are the times we will have to bring back spirituality into schools and colleges. And that is the way we can inculcate the spiritual and moral values in the children. As Nelson Mandela said, education is the greatest weapon which we can use to change the world. This is what he said. And Mahatma Gandhi said, if you want peace in the world, start with children, he said. And also somebody like Arnold Toynbee, the British historian, said long back, 30, 40, 60, 70 years ago, he made this statement. A chapter in history which had a Western beginning will have to have an Indian ending if it should not end in self-destruction of the human race. At this supremely dangerous moment in the history of the world, there is only one way of salvation for mankind. That is the Indian way. That's what he said. And that Indian way is nothing but the way of Sanatana Dharma, recognizing one's own divinity, recognizing divinity everywhere. And on this basis, you will have political ideals, you will have ideals of economics, you will have ideals of science, which will create one family in the whole world. The idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam can materialize only if the principles of spirituality, principles of Sanatana Dharma are practiced. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Sairam to you.